Hey everyone, I'm Anne. Welcome to the Let's Get Naked podcast, where we dive deep into vulnerability. In this space, we'll explore what triggers us, uncover the patterns holding us back, and discover how to take charge of our own growth. If you're ready to dig in, be vulnerable, and face the tough stuff, then buckle up. It's time to get naked. You might remember Gary. He was the firefighter with PTSD who came on the show a couple months ago and talked about how ketamine completely changed his life. He was raw, he was real, and he swore it was the thing that helped him find peace after everything he'd been through. That stuck with me, so I decided to run my own experiment. Go through a ketamine session myself, not because I'm buried under trauma anymore. I've already done years of that deep work, but so that I could come back here and tell you exactly what it feels like and what my experience was. And wow, I thought I'd be digging into childhood memories or wrestling some dark corner of myself. Instead, what happened was pure surrender. I let go, and I was met with this incredible connection to the cosmic fabric, the collective consciousness, the divine, to all of us. It wasn't heavy or scary. It was uniting, beautiful, and freeing. That session lit a fire in me. It reminded me how deeply we're all woven together, and it sparked even more passion to stop buying into the divisions and start uniting as human beings. So today, with my guide and guest, a licensed professional counselor who is passionate about psychedelic-assisted therapy and internal family systems, we're going to break this wide open. This isn't hype. This isn't woo. This is what happens when science, therapy, and surrender meet connection. So let's go. Today, we're stripping it all off with Kristy Crabtree. Kristy is a licensed professional counselor, spiritual guide, and a pioneer in psychedelic-assisted therapy and internal family systems. After overcoming her own childhood trauma and health challenges, she has dedicated her life to helping people heal, awaken, and tap into their deepest potential. Welcome to the show, Kristy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that introduction.
Absolutely. So I don't know where to even jump in on some of this. Maybe you can even kind of give the folks at home even maybe an overview of what ketamine even is so that they kind of understand what it is, the range of uses that you have for it, and then we can just go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So ketamine is an atypical psychedelic. It is considered a psychedelic, but it's not your classic psychedelic. It is a dissociative anesthetic. So as you probably were aware, as the medicine's going into your body, you start to notice that you feel like you don't have a body. Yeah. It's almost as if the boundaries between you and whatever else is out there start to become very porous and ultimately dissolve. And so the beautiful thing about ketamine is, so many of my clients come to me on SSRIs, antidepressants, and they get really nervous. Well, can I use ketamine as an option for me because I am on a medication? And the answer is yes, because unlike most psychedelics, it doesn't work on the two-way serotonin receptor sites. And so it's relatively safe with most medications. And so as counselors, we use it under medical supervision, and my clients come and they get medically cleared. They go through that process. But what's so cool, in my opinion, we're going to get into some of the geeky stuff here about ketamine, is it disrupts the default mode network in the brain. So you know how sometimes we get those thoughts that just feel like they're on loop? There are these thought patterns that we can't get out of. They've been running in our head. It's as if ketamine expands your consciousness outside of that default mode network, and you have this bird's eye view of how small that loop really is.
Yes.
And something inside you screams, I'm so much bigger, and I had no idea. It can unlock those really, really stuck thought loops that happen, especially in trauma and OCD, things like that. But not only that, you release in your brain something called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That's something that's very abundant in your brain when you're young and when you're like a little sponge and you're just learning everything about the world. And as we age, we have less and less of that. But for the 2 weeks after you do ketamine, BDNF is completely abundant in your brain again. So you have this transcendental experience where you get outside of your normal consciousness loops of thinking. And not only that, the things that you do in those 2 weeks that follow, the psychotherapy, the yoga, the exercise, the things that you do really reinforce, because of that BDNF, those new ways of thinking and the new ways of relating to your life and to your world.
Yeah. There was a lot of geeking out. I'm like trying to remember initials and all of the things.
Don't try. Exactly. We'll just talk in,
Exactly. So would you say who's like the most benefited from? Like what kind of, is there a specific kind of traumas that helps with? Or like what's the range of a patient that you've found that ketamine has really worked best with?
It's wide. It is wide. I've seen it work well with PTSD, first and foremost, right? We even have some contracts with local fire departments and first responders. And for me, that is critical work because when we work with men, especially healed men, their behaviors trickle to their wives and to their children, and it brings the healing home to the family and sets a new precedence for that. It works phenomenally well for OCD and anxiety, although that can be tricky because you spoke of surrender in the introduction, which I love. When you have OCD, you want to control, and surrender is hard. So sometimes as people with OCD go into the medicine, they want to cling on and hang on, but you can gently guide them into surrender, and they get an experiential learning of what that feels like to release some control.
Yeah.
And it can be very beautiful.
Yeah.
I've seen it work well with depression, with suicidality. So the application is very broad.
Yeah. Has it always been a bigger thing, or is this something that's newer? I had never even heard of ketamine. Obviously, I'm kind of new to this whole scene.
It's newer.
Okay.
It's newer. So on label, it had just been classically used for pain management, and that's how people usually know it. In fact, it came to be used for healing work when people started realizing when they use it for an anesthetic, the people that had ketamine as part of their anesthesia were having these transcendental, almost supernatural experiences coming out of anesthesia.
Yeah.
So, doctors started to get clued in, like there's something to this.
Sure.
Where other anesthetics don't have this profound spiritual effect on people.
Yeah.
But it was typically used for pain. It was used, off-label now for these other disorders, and it's still used off-label for them, but we're finding it very effective.
Yeah. No, it was funny because, as I said in my intro, I was completely prepared for anything, and that's just kind of where I am in my journey. And then to have the experience that I did, which was the most beautiful experience I've ever had, just being able to really connect with what I call, the cosmic fabric, or the collective consciousness, or the divine, or, whatever the names are for that. I literally felt like through the entire session that I was one with that, that I could feel, the DNA and the frequencies and like all of that stuff. And it was just so powerful, and then coming off of that, and then it really just continues to facilitate for me my feeling and my understanding of us as humans and as, shared humanity and all of that. It just intensifies that for me, and so I just feel like, I had done psilocybin about a year ago at a retreat, and then ayahuasca a couple of years ago, and each one of those experiences has just further connected me with the earth and nature and our oneness, and I just think, wow, I mean, that should not be limited to, the select few that are able to either afford to do it or find a good provider for that. I mean, it's made a huge difference for me.
Well, and the worst part about that is that in my mind, as a humanity, as a people, we are not free until our consciousness is freed.
Yes.
And God put these medicines on our planet for us to know Him and to know ourselves, in my opinion. And reinforced by the experience that you had, right?
Yeah.
And by the experience I see a lot of people have, but ketamine luckily is legal. However, psilocybin is not, right? Except for at the time of this recording in, I think, 2 states. Ayahuasca is only legal in the context of a sacrament in a church. So there's some people who have ayahuasca churches here where it's legal, or outside of the country, where it's served with indigenous tribes. But other than that, it is not legal.
Right.
And so it's not readily accessible.
Is there movement on trying to make that a thing where it is legal, or is that, I mean, obviously if we have a couple of states where psilocybin as an example is okay, so that's in the works, I guess.
It's in the works. One of my favorite medicines that I'm trained in is MDMA.
Yeah.
That is legal nowhere right now, except for on the campuses where the clinical trials have taken place, the clinical trial results have been astounding. And there was a huge push legislatively, and it just actually was shot down last year, about a year ago this time, by the FDA, unfortunately. So the momentum's not stopping.
Yeah.
You know, the trials are continuing, and my hope is that eventually this will be readily available. My fear, you know, everything is kind of this double-edged sword. You know, what I've seen happen with ketamine since it's been used clinically is it's taken on this very allopathic nature, because that's the paradigm that psychiatrists are educated under, is that here's a medicine and that the medicine will heal the human, right? I know.
Everyone, I mean, not everyone. I guess I know that doesn't work. It's a tool. You have to do that yourself.
Yeah, and so I often see ketamine facilitated in cold, sterile clinical environments where it's just like, okay, here's the ketamine and let that heal you. And there's no preparation. There's no integration. There's no talk of spirituality. There's no talk of consciousness or aspects of ego state or any of that. It's just let the medicine do its thing.
Yeah.
I've even had clients come to me and be like, oh yeah, I tried ketamine, it wasn't great. And I'm like, oh, well, what was it like for you? And they go, well, I mean, the psychiatrist just allowed me to like scroll on my phone. I was like, wait, you scroll? How did you even see your phone?
I know, I was going to say, like, I was pretty out of it. Like,
yeah.
Just in a way that I was not there. Like, just to look on a phone, like, why would you even want to do that?
No. And it just goes to show the level of resistance that people have to surrender to wanting to look within. But there was no facilitation from the prescriber to be like, hey, why don't we put the phone down? What are you afraid of? Why don't we close our eyes? I'm here for you, right? There's none of that. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm really passionate also about advocating and educating people that the medicine is a tool, but ultimately our bodies have an innate intelligence that heals. Our connection to source, however we conceive of that, heals. And it's in connecting to the infinite aspects of ourself that we realize our smallness and our bigness all at the same time. And we can learn to hold that polarity and walk in alignment with it.
Yeah. It makes so many things that maybe people don't realize seems so inconsequential.
Right.
You know, which is such a beautiful thing. You know, when you talk about the surrender, and for those listening, I'm a cannonballer. And so with enough stuff that I have done building up to this, I walk in and it's full surrender because that's what's important to me. But I can understand how that would be hard for people. I used to be a control freak as well. And I do not recommend that at all. That's fucking terrible. You can't control anything. I mean, you can control your choices. And other than that, like, you don't get to control anything. So what a miserable existence I look back on for my life when I thought that I was the one that was holding it all together, because it's exhausting. It's exhausting for me to think that I had that kind of power, number one, which obviously you don't. So you're delusional if you think that you do. But also, like, so what? Right? So go ahead and not even worry about controlling anything and just see how beautiful your life unfolds.
Yeah.
Right? And
that's the ticket.
It is.
That's the key.
It is, right? And I think you're right. I think people want to have, I've talked to other people who have had ketamine experiences, and what you described feels like kind of what they told me, which feels very sterile, very whatever. And that's not how I felt with my experience with you at all, right? I mean, do you mind if I share some of this stuff? Okay,
yeah.
So in coming to see you, and on the day that we were going to do that, being able to really, you have such a beautiful spirit and a beautiful energy, right? So to be able to, we prayed together, pulled an oracle card and kind of talked about that. Just the shamanic work that you bring into that space is such a beautiful, I don't even know how to put words to how amazing that experience was for me. It just felt like you're wrapped in such a lovely blanket. And that was before I even got to the ketamine. I mean, that's, you really are passionate about what it is that you do and wanting to be able to help people, facilitate their own healing, because people should understand it is not someone else that's going to heal you. It is you that is going to heal you. And if you're willing to kind of start on that journey, you just put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And your body will tell you, most of us have to kind of really get to a place where we can get some of the things out of the way that are connecting us to our gut, to our center, to our nectar, right? It's all of those filters and the garbage and the trauma and the shit that's gotten on top of you. You know, I really kind of describe it to people like, I just want to get back to the 8-year-old Anne that was before I lost my innocence, you know, because that happens, and then just trauma and then all of the shit that just keeps going on top of it. And it's like, you're not trying to add more. As an adult who's trying to heal, you're not trying to add more things. So when people feel like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, don't visualize it as adding more. Visualize it as taking away. Taking away so that little 8-year-old girl can feel again, so that she can breathe again, right? Because that's where the awe and the wonder comes in this life, and not feeling like you have to have all of these expectations that your life has to look a certain way. You aren't promised anything, you know? So it's like, if you just get back to that and get in the flow, do your part, enjoy the ride, I truly believe that that's where the magic happens.
Well, isn't that what Christ talked about in that childlike faith? Isn't that exactly what that is? Be childlike, be in the awe, be in the wonder, be curious towards the mystery of life. Stop trying to control it all, right? And I think your experience was just a testimony to the work that you've done prior, because there are stages to healing. And I think that final stage of healing is understanding that we are not separate from anything. We're not separate from our creator. And there has to be, to know that experientially, to know and to beat that illusion that we are somehow separate, we have to resolve the separateness within ourselves, which is what you were talking about, the fractures that occur within the self when we do experience trauma that block our connection to little Anne, right, to that 8-year-old. And those are real. There is a scientific explanation for the feeling of being fractured when we have a big trauma, or when we have a series of little traumas. It shapes the way that we see the world. And so the brain will release something called a neuropeptide, and it's a little inflammatory marker that'll land on a cell that we associate with the trauma. So if mom is going through something, and day after day after day she's depressed and she doesn't get out of bed to come see us play soccer where we shine on the field or whatever, we start to think, oh, well, I guess I'm just not good enough, you know, that mom won't come see me. And it shapes the way we see ourselves and relate to the world, because as a child, we have to nurture and protect the relationship between us and our caregiver. And so we will reject ourselves and abandon ourselves to protect that relationship, to get our survival needs met. And so that neuropeptide knows, our brain is so wise, our bodies are so wise. And so it knows we can't deal with this right now, because we have to protect this connection. So I'm going to put it right here on your heart, Anne, and I'm going to wait until you're safe emotionally. And then I'm going to come up and you can examine me, or you can push me back down, and we can keep adding to this inflammation. And that's how I view the human body. Pain, disease is just a reflection emotionally of all these stored neural peptides that we can release through practices like breath work, through psychedelics, and other means of expanded states of awareness.
It's incredibly powerful to have come across this in my journey of the breath work, all of the things that you're talking about, because then you just, if you're on this healing journey of figuring yourself out, whatever is supposed to be next will feel like truth for you. You know, I tell my husband, I'm like, I have all of these books that I buy, and then they have a room in my house that I like to read in, and they speak to me when they tell me which one is next to read, right? Or all of a sudden someone, you know, will give me a book and it feels like, okay, that's the right one, whatever. Or somehow I'll get turned on to a podcast or to a show or something that I needed to see that just kind of helped me or sparked my curiosity of like, oh, what is that? You know, I was really pulled to do ayahuasca when I did that a couple of years ago, because I felt like I'm meant to hold space for other women, and my feminine energy is not clean. And I knew that from all of the trauma and stuff. And so I didn't even know why I was doing it. I remember having conversations with the facilitator, talking about it. And I'm like, I don't know why. I just am literally being pulled to do this, because I know I'm not going to be able to offer 100% to people if I don't figure this out, you know. And so then after that, it reveals what it reveals, and then it doesn't just fix it, right? It just it shines a light on where the work needs to happen, you know. And then the work is screaming and crying and, you know, releasing and figuring out however that looks as well. But it's so worth it. Like, I look at who I was prior to starting this journey and who I am today. I told my husband, I said, I feel like I've gotten to reincarnate in the same life.
So cool.
That's
I
how
love that.
different. Yeah, that's how different the old Anne is compared to the new Anne.
Well, and let's talk about this. I mean, right now, the new book that I just finished writing that's in editing really talks about the descension process of humanity as a whole, but also as an individual, and then the ascension process of returning back to our oneness, right? And I was given visions during ceremonies. Ayahuasca, was one of them, where I literally watched the descension of us from star beings down to this level of humanity, and I was communing with a snake of all things during ayahuasca.
I love it.
And the snake stayed with me though, and kept giving me visions through dreams, through breath work, in the shower of all places.
Yeah.
It's like when you're in that zone and just, anyways. And so it showed me this descension and through these different visions of what that looked like. And it said, I didn't deceive Eve. I was not evil. I actually enlightened her, and she made the decision on behalf of humanity to birth the world of form. In my opinion, Adam and Eve were these fifth dimensional higher beings who, were in the Garden of Eden, which is this heavenly realm. But how do you grow as a soul in eternity if you don't know resistance? If you don't know evil, but choose good. If you don't know hatred, but choose love. And so God gifted us through Eve's choice free will. And that was our dissension. And that's this polarity in this dark world that we experience today. And it's the gift of free will. But then all these star beings came and they gave us a roadmap back home. But the problem is we said, no, that's myth. No, that's myth. But all the indigenous tribes, the Dogon tribe, all the Native American tribes in the U.S. talk about these star people. It's on the ancient Egyptian walls. And we go, nah, that's myth. Okay, fine. We're going to give you people wrapped in flesh, Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. And they're going to show you these tools for ascension. So is the Buddha. So is Kuan Yin and all these other enlightened masters. They're going to give you a blueprint. And now you can't call it myth because they're wrapped in flesh is what the snake showed me. And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
Okay. And what blew my mind that I learned in this ayahuasca ceremony, or really months after as I was unpacking it, is that Jesus Christ was able to embody and commune with all of his divinity. And he gained what the Eastern cultures, the monks, the Hindus call siddhis, siddhis. These monks, these gurus can bilocate. They can remote view, which is something our government uses. They can levitate, right? We've all kind of seen that and thought, is that real? Like, do people really do that? They do. And what's so fascinating, and Jesus Christ did these miracles, but like, why is it limited to biblical times? Because our belief around it has changed, because we have bought a lie that says that we are limited as who we are as humans. And that only the people ordained or appointed or who sit on a mountaintop for 40 years can do these things, and that's a lie. And so once we start to learn what is our actual potential as humans, who are we really? And we can expand, we'll be capable of these things. Christ said it. All these things I do, you can do and more.
Yeah.
And so that got me thinking, these, what we call ETs, they're just cities. So Christ was one man who could perform these miracles, who could do these things. But what happens when a whole culture, a whole civilization gains these tools and skills and abilities? We become extraterrestrial. And so it showed me that is the evolutionary process. It's ancient and it's our future, because it's all one. Time is just a cycle. It's not linear. So I know I just went way left into the deep woo,
Right.
but it's not. It's not. It's in all our texts.
Yeah.
It's here in plain sight. It's hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating to me, because you're speaking of things that I'm like scratching the surface on now, and it feels like truth to me 1,000%, which is so awesome. Because if you ever have found yourself in this world going, is this it? Is this the meaning of life? This shitty hamster wheel, this crappy, mediocre life where you're causing your own suffering and all of that. And you think, is this this what this is? It's not. That's not the meaning of life, because I've watched as in my progression for things, now I'm at the point where I'm co-creating with the universe. Like,
absolutely.
And just in a playful way, and everyone around me is like, what the fuck is happening? I'm like, it's just magic. I don't know what else to say. Like,
it is.
It is, but it makes it so much fun. You know, it's like I'm explaining to Casey the other day. I'm like, she says, it's like a game. I said, it is like a game.
It is a game.
In the best way, right? Of whatever it is that you're supposed to learn and whatever you're supposed to be doing. You know, for me, my piece of it that I'm working on now that I really hate is that I had started working on my compassion for myself. And that was something that took me years to be able to do because of just whatever my ingredients in my recipe were. But agreeing to do that and then starting to feel that has been really torturous for me, because I do feel one with everyone now. And then you show the compassion of it, and our world is really broken. And that's not what this episode needs to be about, but what it does, you know, what it is highlighting for me is just, I feel so deeply now, and my soul hurts. I don't normally plug into news or other things like that. And in doing that in this last, week or so, I just have felt my soul being so heavy. It's like, oh my God, I got to pull back out of this, because I'm not able to be effective with the light that I shine when stuff like that is really dampening it. But also just understanding the unity for stuff. When you think, everyone's out here with their egos all on steady diets of who's going to drive the fancier car, or who's going to get the house, and who's going to whatever. Stop it. We're missing it. We're stepping on human beings and not taking care of one another, and being so gross and judgmental that we couldn't connect if we tried. And that's where the key is. I believe that the key to unraveling and healing all of this is human connection.
That's it.
It's
connection to ourselves, which allows us intimate connection to others. Because if we can't intimately connect in with ourselves, if we're so dissociated from our bodies, if our hearts are so closed, there's no way that we could do this.
Yep.
Energy is everything, and most of us are spending it like drunk gamblers at a Vegas blackjack table. My book is built around one simple but powerful tool: quantifying your energy so you know exactly where it's going and how to get more of it back. Think of it as a manual for your soul's fuel tank. If you're tired of running on empty, this book will show you how to fill back up and keep yourself in the game long enough to actually win. Get your copy of the Life Hack Playbook on Amazon or on the podcast website, letsgetnakedpodcast.com.
I think what I want to say about the darkness, and I mean, we're sitting here, this podcast is being filmed and recorded at the time when, Charlie Kirk was just murdered, he was assassinated, and the world is really heavy. And what I try to keep really near to my heart is the fact that as we ascend personally in our own journeys, and as we can hold our light, there's a book by Hawkins, Eye of the Eye, and he has another one too that shows that one master who vibrates at above 600 on our planet actually dissolves and mitigates some of the low dark energy on our planet. If we don't have high vibrational people on our planet, the darkness gets out of balance. You have to look at the darkness like it's almost like the gut microbiome. Like when it gets out of balance, you start to get parasites and stuff. So if you can keep the balance and keep the vibration high, it mitigates that lower energy. So just by you holding your light and saying, I see the darkness, I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to grieve, and I'm going to love humanity the way that I know how to do. And then I'm going to hold my light and make a commitment to that, to myself, to God, and honor that. You are mitigating some of that darkness. And there's nothing more that you have to do. It's just science. It's just a law of the universe. And so for me, the way I see, what is my contribution to humanity? What is my process of spiritual evolution means? To me, it means I can now ask other people, invite other people to hold the light within themselves, to release density from their bodies, to release trauma. And in the Bible, it says that in a twinkling of an eye, all of this can change. And I believe it, because I think as enough people ascend and reach their true potential as humans, the darkness can't help but shift, because that's science. That's a law. It's a spiritual law. And so if enough people hold their light and raise their vibration, the collective will have to rise to meet it. And I firmly believe it. And in order for the darkness to be exposed for what it is, for us to really see truth, this needs to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to get darker before it gets better because we need to understand it. And that's kind of what I wrote about in my first book, is this individual healing that happens. And there's 4 steps to it, but it happens in the collective as well. And it's not easy. And we are here to witness it right now.
We are. And I think you're right. I think this is something that is necessary to happen, as terrible and as sad as that is. It has me in a place where last week I was, after all of that happened, I spent a couple of days crying and just being emotional. And that is not who I normally am. It just was so heavy, and just so heavy with anger and rage. And I don't take either side as far as politics are concerned. I think it's a tragedy that that we would think that was okay, to do that. And then I'm, I get conversations with other people or snippets about stuff where people are celebrating that. And I think, what is happening? Like, that man spoke his truth and tried to add good to this world. If you didn't like him, then change the channel. But to murder somebody and then laugh and mock and make fun, I just think that's to me the biggest level of darkness. And I'm glad that you say that about just shining your light and having that be a frequency, because I feel like the more that I do along this journey to get to where I am, the higher frequency that I'm at. And it's blowing my mind. After ketamine, I went to Oregon with my husband for a couple of days to spend a long weekend with someone very special to us. And I was walking from where we were sleeping over to her house, and there was a snake. And I have spent my entire life afraid of snakes. And I dropped to my knees and started petting it.
Oh my gosh.
And it felt like electricity coming out of my finger. And my husband is standing there going, what in the actual fuck is happening? He was speechless. It literally felt like electricity to me.
Wow.
I know. And I'm just like, what is going on? In the best possible way. Because I have this positivity and this energy and this light. You just can't fuck with this. Like, I just, it's big stuff that's going on in my life. It doesn't mean everything's easy, right? Every day is a challenge. Yesterday was a big day of getting one of my kiddos, back into a rehab situation, right? It was a big day.
Yeah.
I feel great about it. I feel at peace, right? Like I'm holding space. I'm not making it about me. Like, just all of this stuff that I've done to heal. It's like
the way you get to show up now.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's just powerful because it's a light to other people. It's a hand to other people to be able to help them and show them the way, because as I've continued to vibrate at a higher frequency, other people are like, what is it that you're doing? Because I want in on that, right? And so being able to like show them and have them also start on their journeys, it's fun to watch. And I think you're right. The more of us that do that collectively, it absolutely will make a difference.
It will, because there's a fire in your heart, right? That was lit. And I can feel it. I can feel it's a passion. I can feel it when I talk to you. And you can give that fire away and it will diminish nothing from you.
Absolutely.
It will take nothing away from you. It can be shared.
Yep.
And we get to be passionate and we get to share that and hopefully ignite that in somebody else so that they can go out and live their deepest purpose and make the most impact. And that's my hope. And let's talk about the snake.
Yes. I know. Okay. Wild.
So she was a big part of my journey. I call her she because I think of her as kundalini.
Yes.
And kundalini is the energy that lives and is coiled at the base of your spine. It's your creativity. It's your sexuality, which is same as your life force energy, because we're creators. And that's how we create, is with our sexual energy. But when you can move that sexual energy up via the snake, it opens and pierces these other chakras and allows you to have more of that life force energy at your disposal to create whatever it is that you want to create. Yeah. And so what an experience that the universe gave you.
Yes.
To be able to have that moment to commune with the snake and with your own life force energy and to feel the electric magnetism that's inside of you, your power, because it's about your power too.
It is, I feel like I'm vibrating so high that it's like scaring me a little bit. Not really, but just, I wake up this way and it's like, okay, what am I going to do today? Put me wherever. It's not about my choice, right? I tell the big guy, put me wherever I can be of the most use. Put me where I can be of the most service, which is it's wild and it's an honor. It's an honor to be able to help anything that I can collectively or individually, because we need more of this. We need more of this.
Well, let's talk about the trust that it takes to do that.
Yeah.
Because my gosh, yeah, it's one thing to surrender on the couch with ketamine, which I saw you do so eloquently, but it's another to allow that type of surrender in your life. Because you're saying that, okay, I'm telling God, use me, make me an instrument, let me walk in alignment with you. That takes a really deep level of faith, not only in God, but in yourself, to be able to discern and hear that voice and to know that it's the voice of truth and not a distortion, not a fear-based thought.
Yes.
You know, and another testimony to your own growth is that you're able to do that, which is a really high path to take. And it, in my opinion, doesn't make your choice, your will, obsolete, because it is a co-creative process.
Yes.
Because I think that when we align our will with divinity, it does align with our passion. So it's what excites us the most. So we can trust that if we walk in the path with our highest excitement, our most passion, we have those affinities and those passions for a reason, because that's part of our purpose.
It is.
So it's not like you totally negate your choice or the things you want to do.
Right.
It's that you align them with the ultimate creative force and yours.
Yes. And then, like you said, that literally brings me the most joy, to be able to do what my calling is. Right. So it helps kind of foster that mad ass faith, what we call it. Right. Because I got to this place, like 18 months ago, where it was my first kind of, okay, I surrender. And I have this picture of myself on this hike where I was with a couple of friends, and I had my hands up, and I just really said, all right, like full surrender. And then at that point, I felt like I had done enough work where I was really in tune with my gut, which, I don't think people realize we're so out of touch with our gut, and that's who we are, So if people are like, I can't trust my gut because all of these different things, right? If I'm working with a woman who just in talking has dealt with, sexual trauma or other things, it's like your mind forced your body to do things that your body knew wasn't right, whether staying in something, or whatever it was. You're just telling it one time after another by saying yes when you should be saying no, by doing all those things. You're not in line with it anymore. That's why you can't feel it. That's why you don't know. So you have to do all of the work to kind of uncover that. But once I got to that point where I was like, I know, I don't even question anymore. Like, I know what it is. And I can feel when fear-based shit comes in too, because your mind is still going to be like, are you sure you want to do that? Like blah, 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 blah. And I absolutely know the difference, but now I don't even hesitate. It's like if something comes to me in a download or in a meditation or in whatever, I just do it. Like I don't even have to. I don't need to fucking waste time. No. Like there's not time to waste. It's Do
you feel that? There is a sense of urgency right now.
Very much so.
I've been getting that message that we are kind of at this crossroads, this crux of humanity, and there is a sense of urgency.
I believe that to my core.
Yeah.
To my core.
I'm glad you named it.
I can literally feel this. And I told my husband last night, I said, this whole thing with Charlie Kirk, he is going to be so much bigger because everyone has woken the sleeping giant. And I believe that. And not in a way of Republicans versus Democrats. It has nothing to do with politics. But the people that have been sitting on the sidelines and not saying things are fucking over it.
Yep.
This has really sparked something. It's like they're not just going to let the nonsense just continue to run amok. And that's how that has been.
Right.
And I do feel like it is bringing this level of energy to whatever's supposed to happen. And I don't come from a predictive thing, but I will tell you that I'm prepared for anything.
Oh, I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel it, sister.
Because I believe it's necessary.
I do too. There's been this, and I'm not religious. I know I'm speaking of Christ and things like that, but I'm not religious. But Christ flipped tables. Yeah. When it was like enough, he got up and he flipped tables. I feel like that's where we're at.
I believe that to my
That's
core.
where we're at. It's time to flip some tables.
Yeah, enough is enough.
The corruption is out of control.
Yep.
It's time for this shit to be exposed. Yep. And there is like this, it's a righteous anger. Mm-hmm. And there's like this revival that's happening on a spiritual level that it's going to take a lot of like truth and integrity and wisdom to get to the root of what this corruption is. But I think we're all there. I think we're fed up.
I think so too. And I look at it and it's like, for anyone that's willing to get curious about stuff, it's like, follow the money. Yeah. Where are people enriched by keeping us in the dark, right? And so if you look at politics, or if you look at big pharma, right? You talk to somebody and they're on 5 or 6 medications. How is that a success?
Right.
How is that a fucking success story? We're keeping people numb, right?
That's right.
And not in tune with themselves, right? Watch The Matrix, anyone, right? Of what that looks like. We are literally walking among zombies because no one thinks for themselves anymore.
Right.
And we just literally numb with, oh, the government's going to take care of you. Newsflash, the government is not going to take care of anybody, no matter what fucking side of the aisle you're on.
That's it.
The religion, if you belong to a religion that says that someone else is wrong and you're right, stop it. Like, stop. It's just embarrassing. That's fucking stop it. That's not anybody's God. If you pray to a God that doesn't approve of this person or that person, or you have to be a certain way, you've missed the boat entirely as far as I'm concerned, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like, you look at that. It's like all of these different things. The media, if you believe anything that the fucking media pushes out, you're part of the problem. They're not reporting facts anymore. They stopped doing that a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's about fucking clickbait and about everything. And they have everybody so twerked up at each other that you can't even have a conversation. It's
They're
like
complicit in this.
Completely. And then it's like, do you remember when you used to just talk to your neighbor? And maybe, maybe Melanie that lives next door, she's a kooky old lady, and maybe she, believes in, whatever religion she does or whatever politics, but you know her and she's a nice lady. Well, we've taken all of that human connection out of there entirely. So it's like, oh, you don't agree with what I think? You're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. And everyone's screaming at the top of their lungs that they're right. But what's crazy to me about that is everyone is doing this human experience from their own perspective, right?
Yeah.
I'm a white, straight woman, right? In America. This is the country I live in. This is what, and then I have the things that happened as a child, the basics of my parents stayed married. I had 4 siblings, like whatever. And then you put all the filters on top of it. So when I say this is my perspective, I am right. Yeah. From my perspective, I am right. Now, someone else that's, viewing this human experience or having this human experience from a male perspective or maybe a gay perspective, maybe a person of color perspective, right? And then all of their fucking filters, they're also going to be coming from their perspective and saying, I'm right as well. Well, what do people think is going to happen out there? All of a sudden, half of the people are going to concede and be like, oh my God, you were right. I'm not right. Like, no, everybody's right.
Yes.
Right? It's the whole 6 and the 9. If I'm looking at a 6, I'm looking at a 6 and you're going, no, this is a 9 over here. Are we going to yell at each other and burn this world to the ground because we can't be emotionally intelligent enough to go, oh, let me see it from your perspective. Oh, I'm right. And you can be right as well.
Yeah, can we hold both? That's emotional maturity.
I mean, it really is. And it's a bunch of children emotionally in adult bodies screaming at the top of their lungs, and I can't get my head around it. But
it's what I love, honestly, about these expanded states of awareness, because they're the same. I don't care if you're that gay man having that experience on my couch, or you're this white straight woman having that experience on the couch. We all arrive at the same place, which is God is love. There's many different boats to arrive at it. Choose your boat, decorate it however the fuck you want to. It's going to look beautiful, but get there. And we realize that we're so much more similar than different. And in these expanded states, in these mystical states, we figured that out. And that's what is being kept from us. In my opinion, it's the distilling down of consciousness and giving our authority away to other people that takes our power away from us and disallows us these experiences of connection that keep us so separate. And so, again, it could be through breath work, it could be through these medicines, whatever. But when we all get there, we arrive at the same place, we start to see it the same way, which is, I don't care how you do it. Can we just be good humans?
Right.
And be kind to each other and love one another and treat neighbors as neighbors. And we start to be able to see past these divides, and we start to see the agenda a little bit more clear.
Yeah. And when you see the agenda, you can't unsee it. No. It's like, I'm not interested in any of the shit that any of those people are peddling, because I know what's true for me. And I know that we're meant to be in connection with one another, no matter what the other person's sexuality is, or I don't give a fuck what other people do. Why are people so twisted up in all of that stuff? Like, it gets people really worked up about things, and it's like, you guys were missing the boat.
Yeah.
What would you say, if you have someone that's listening that says, okay, and they're not familiar with any of the stuff that we're talking about, where would you even suggest somebody start to kind of take a step on their journey? Do you have something that maybe sticks out to you of like, just, for me, I always suggest just getting curious, right? If that doesn't feel like truth to you, if you feel like, God, it does feel like people are really trying to push their agenda on me.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's always like getting curious about how things make you feel a certain type of way. But do you have something that you would say to somebody about like where to even start with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first place to start, you're right. Curiosity is actually a facet of self-energy. Self-energy is a part of us that doesn't have an agenda. We all have parts. We all have ego states that have agendas to protect us. But curiosity and creativity, there's the 8 C's of self-energy. We won't go into them all, but that is one of those facets. And so when we're curious, we can look at things at different angles, but really the first step is know yourself. And I don't just mean know your likes and your dislikes. I mean, like, really look at, how have I been manipulated? Where are the distortions in my thinking? Where am I not taking responsibility for something in my life? Where am I resentful? Because if I'm resentful at somebody else, that's actually just a mirror showing me that I'm neglecting or failing to take responsibility for something in my life. And so when you can take radical responsibility and we stop being the victim or having the victim persona, the delusions start to shatter. And so that's step 1, in my opinion.
Okay. No, I think that's really smart. You know, people just being willing to understand that this life is a classroom.
Yeah.
And the people that are put in your path are meant to mirror your homework to you, your lessons, right? So when people get triggered about things, to me, I always say, get curious about that. Don't try to make it so that somebody doesn't bump into your triggers. That's the point, right? Is to have people that bump into your triggers so that you know where the work is.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's such a loving universe
It is.
that every time we get triggered, we realize, oh, you're just showing me what's unhealed within me that I need to examine. And when you can start to see life from that perspective, you're not going to get scratched by every rub.
Right.
You get polished, as Rumi said, right?
Exactly, right? And then being able to take that and understand that that's a gift, not a, oh my God, my life is so hard. If you find yourself in the same cycle, right? I find this to be completely fascinating. If you find yourself in the same pattern where you're attracting the same lesson, it's because you're not clearing the lesson, right?
That's exactly it.
Right,
There's
like,
karmic loops.
There is.
It's a karmic loop.
It's like do something different then. Try something different so that you don't just keep staying in this whole like, I just keep attracting all these people that take advantage of me. Who's the common denominator?
Yes.
Right? Like, open your eyes, people. That's a real thing. If you're living a shitty life, a shitty, mediocre life in a hamster wheel that you're not happy about, you have the power to change that. And it doesn't have to have all of this crazy, like, yes, I've done a bunch of crazy stuff, but I watch as other people, you don't have to go to Costa Rica for ayahuasca. You don't have to go to, whatever, but definitely get curious and be willing to take big, hard looks at yourself in the mirror and say, am I happy about this? And is there something about this that I can change so that I don't keep inviting this shit into my life?
But that's where society keeps us stuck in numb because they say, oh, wow, you're coming to these awarenesses. How about you numb it out with a pill?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
You're having pain in your hips because you can't move forward in your life because you're not flexible in your mentality. How about this drug? Yeah. And so then the issues get pushed deeper into the tissues. And so again, there's a time and a place for meds. Yes, absolutely. However, they're very ineffective and they don't get to the root cause.
We're so over medicated.
Yeah.
But when you realize that the industry that's giving you the medicine is also the same industry that's keeping you sick, get curious about that, people. That's a real fucking thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
absolutely.
Like, I did not have this. I remember my mom talking about Big Pharma years ago, and I'm like, oh my God, she sounds like a fucking kook. And then I start like opening my eyes to things, and I'm like, oh no, she was right. Big Pharma's terrible. I mean, it really is. You look at, you talk to your neighbor, and they say, I have to pay $800 for this prescription, and you think, how do we live in a world where this poor woman who's on, a fixed income, but look how much money Big Pharma spends on advertising in the U.S. Wake up to the fact that the big, like, pharmaceuticals are not allowed to advertise in any other country besides America.
Absolutely.
Like, if you didn't know that fact, know that fact. That should fucking tell you everything you need to know about that. It's disgusting. It's literally, when you watch TV, I literally feel like it's brainwashing people, and they don't even fucking realize. Like, why should it be telling me how great this medicine is? Let me work with my doctor. Right? But
it's called programming for a reason.
Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty savage. But then you look at all of that, and it comes from all of the things, right? The religion, the media, the big pharma, the government. Get as far away from all of that shit as you can. And I realize life is life, and we still all have to pay taxes and do all of our things, but don't let them be making the decisions for you as you just continue to numb and continue to numb and continue to numb, because you're modeling zombie behavior for your fucking children who are absolutely watching.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? There's stages to this. first we have to know ourselves, but then we have to die, right? You said it in the beginning of this show. I've died 1,000 times in this one particular life, and we have to do that if we're going to continue to evolve around this path, and that is painful because death means examining the things that don't work for you and deciding, I think I need to give them up. I think I need to walk away. And then that is the catalyst to rebirth, which is, oh shit, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
I felt so certain, even if it was in chaos, I felt so certain here. Like I knew that level of chaos, but now I'm like a toddler. I'm reborn. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. So be gentle with yourself, but our society's going through it too. It's a collective rebirth. And ultimately, we get to the things that you've talked about, which is know yourself as creator. You are so powerful. Your soul is so magnificent. You can do miracles. You can co-create your entire life.
I believe that to my core.
Absolutely. But if we keep giving our power away, and saying, ooh, because I don't want to take responsibility for this, I'll give it to the government. I will give it to the institutions. I will give it to the church. I will say, you know what? You tell me what God wants me to do.
Yeah.
And if we can't take responsibility for that, how will we ever know our bigness, our magnificence in our soul? We won't, because we'll defer it to somebody else for convenience, for safety, for perceived safety.
Sure.
Because it's not real.
It's not real. It's not real. And when you're handing over the keys to somebody else, that's a real dangerous spot to come from, but that's literally what the majority of society has done. And then they're like caged animals, you know, and that's why you can feel the energy the way that it is people are pissed off, but it's like you've already handed it away, and now we live in this place of complete victimhood and coming from nothing but excuses, and it's like there's no power in victimhood. Take accountability for your part, start working through that shit, and know that it's way better on the other side. You know, it's like I don't see people who get to this spiritual woo-woo space and go like, no, I want to go back to sleep. Right. I have yet to meet anyone. So that should say everything that it needs to people that are listening that maybe are like, okay, what should I be, you know, is this worth me exploring? Yes, get curious about everything. Get curious about literally everything.
Yeah, you can't shove Pandora back in the box.
No.
I will say, I do see some people get stuck in this trap of seeking like peak experiences and like wanting more and more and more, and then forgetting that like now you have to give. Right now, find your place in the world and where you can contribute in a positive way. So get out of self-centeredness. We can seek, and we should continue to seek, and we should continue to grow, but there should be reciprocity in that.
Yeah, it's amazing when you're able to be of service to other, the collective or individual or however. That to me is fascinating, how amazing that makes your life. And the old Anne, before the reincarnation situation, was so wrapped up in what was the world was revolved around her. You know, and I look at that now and I think, oh, that's sad. Because looking back, I see the difference. It's a completely different life for me.
And we get to have compassion for those old iterations of ourselves. I know I do. I know sometimes it's hard to look back and go, oh, okay. I see it. Not proud all the time, but I have a lot of compassion, because when we can take this broad perspective of, well, I know what shaped her worldview, I know what shaped her behaviors. It was born from a lot of trauma. There was a lot to unpack. When we can bring love and compassion to those old iterations of ourselves, I mean, that really is what builds the platform for this new one to grow from.
Well, and people that have, it's interesting, people that have the biggest scars, right? I know that you have stuff in your past, and I do, and everyone that's in my tribe has fucked up childhoods and bad stuff that happened and whatever. The people with the biggest scars are the coolest people, you know? And I believe that collectively, those are the ones that are leading the charge to be able to advance us however we're supposed to. I believe that to my core.
Me too. Like, you did not pick spiritual kindergarten.
Right.
You're like, I'm going to earn a PhD, and that means I'm going to choose some really hard things, and I'm going to figure out on a soul level how to overcome them so that I can assist others in this shift that's happening, that we're all, every soul who's here now, we chose collectively to be here at this particular time. It's not an accident.
Right.
Your soul said, what can I contribute? And maybe you're contributing to the darkness so that we can know light. Thank you.
Right.
But how do we evolve past that now? We're ready.
Right. We are ready. Well, and also something that you said earlier stuck with me, that, you know, the darkness, you can't come, or maybe it was something I read somewhere else. The darkness, you can't combat darkness with darkness, right? So it's like when you are on that higher frequency, or when you are shining your light bright, like that's exactly what you need to be doing, and just focus on doing that and not feeling like I have to go do something else too. And I appreciate you saying that, because I feel like, what can I be doing? I am doing what I can be doing. That's it. Right? Like doing this podcast and bringing it on so that conversations can be had and people can say, okay, maybe let me get curious about that. Because that's literally all I'm encouraging on any of this is get curious about you. I don't need you to think that my way is the right way or that anyone else's way is the right way. Your way is the right way. But you have to get curious and be willing to look under all the stones, right?
Yeah.
Lift up the rug, get the fucking rocks out of there, you know, instead of just keeping, you know, numbing on top of. Nobody needs that. That's overplayed. Fucking knock it off.
Yeah.
You know, you have the power to be able to do that. And when you realize and you start doing some of it, it's like, I did that, right? You give yourself the pat on the back a little bit of like, that was hard and I did that and I feel better for that. And then that just starts to gain momentum, where I got to the point where it was like hard stuff was coming. I'm like, come on, let's do it. I know I'm going to be a million times better as soon as we get through this. I'm not running from this. I'm not scared.
Yeah.
Right? When you expose the monster that was under the bed, it wasn't that scary.
It's like Scooby-Doo, right? You just pull the mask off and you're like, you are Mr. Smith.
Exactly.
Like,
it's so true though.
Yeah.
Right? It's like everyone's hiding from this fucking monster under their bed, but like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Right? The unknown is the scary of that, but it's like,
and shame's like a mold, right? When we feel shame, we don't want to pull off the mask. We want to continue to like hide that and not let anybody else see it. But in those dark corners of our psyche and in our bodies is where that mold is, like that cool, damp environment where it just starts to grow out of control.
Yeah.
And then we have to keep putting on these behaviors to cover it up, keep it stuck.
Just say the things, right? Like that's for me. I'm going to lead with vulnerability. That's my mission, because I think when other people hear that, it's like, okay, she seems normalish, or maybe they don't say that. I don't fucking know. But I'm not gonna. I won't live in shame. I won't live in that. It doesn't live where the light is. You know. So shine light on all of the things.
Well, and typically where there is judgment cast, it's something, again, it's a mirror. Where do I have to? What do I judge within myself? Yeah. You know, if I think Anne's weird,
look at yourself and say,
where are you uncomfortable with some thoughts that you've had, or maybe beliefs that you've explored, or where are you stuck? Where are you rigid?
That's a really great way to say that. So for our listeners, if you feel like you're coming from a judgy place towards somebody else, just flip the mirror around. Just use that only, just from a curiosity place, not to try to stop yourself from judging or whatever. Because for me, when I decided, okay, I'm done with this judgment thing, this feels gross, I don't want to have anything to do with it, I had to stop judging myself first. Yeah. And then as I made progress on that, it automatically just went away for judging other people. Right? It's like I don't even have to work on judging other people.
No.
It will literally correct itself as you work on yourself.
Your internal reality is a direct reflection of what you're creating in your external reality.
Yeah.
And so when you start to clean up the chaos, clean up the judgment, clean up the shame, you no longer project that out onto others. You no longer attract that in. And when we're little and we have trauma, we lose things. You know, you said, I lost my innocence. I did too, very early. And so the things that we lose or that we have to give away to keep the peace, we also tend to attract. And so we can sometimes look at our traumas through that lens too. Sometimes it's not as simple as just, well, did I judge? You know, I judge in myself. But sometimes it's like, what did I lose or give away to keep the peace? Because as a child, we had to give a lot away to keep the peace. And so we'll see that mirrored back in our relationships. And so that's how we start to heal our relationships too, is by looking at those things within ourselves. What did I have to give away? And how do I reclaim that piece of me?
Yeah. And knowing that you have the power to do all those things. It's literally just within you. Yes, figure out whatever techniques, whether it's journaling or books or therapy or whatever that looks like. But you have the power inside of you to change all of that. To live your best life.
We are so powerful.
We are. It's so amazing. Well, Kristy, please tell me about the book that you have out that I'm in the middle of reading. I'm just about finished and I've really enjoyed it. But will you tell us a little bit about this book?
Yeah, so that is my first book, Sacred Revolution. That book changed my life. So it's funny, I got a reading with an astrologer 2 years ago and she was like, oh, are you writing a book? And I said, no. She goes, it's weird, it's in your chart, like September. And this was like maybe the winter or January. And I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, anyways, if you're going to write a book, the fall would be a great time to do it. And I'm like, okay. Well, so that summer,
I love it so much.
I did some psychedelics.
Yeah.
And I had repressed memories come up about early childhood sexual abuse. I had done so much therapy and I always thought there's more, but I couldn't put my finger on what is the more. So then I thought I just sucked. I guess I suck at psychotherapy. Maybe I'm crazy and just making up there's something like this itch that I can't scratch.
Right.
Why am I unsatisfied? Why am I seeking? Why am I so in my masculine? Well, after doing some psychedelics, I saw and witnessed those repressed memories that were 3 and under, essentially, of some early childhood abuse. And then all these pieces just started to click. But then I wondered, am I making this up?
Yeah.
Is this just a hallucination?
Right.
And then I realized there are no such thing as hallucinations, that it's either real conscious material or it's metaphor. And then I got the confirmation that yes, I got it externally, that yes, what I saw was real. And there was this shift where that was my death. That was my rebirth. That was my portal of grieving the fact that I'm a therapist, I help others, and holy shit, my whole life was a lie. And here I hold women's hands, men's hands, and I try to help them find the deepest truths, and I didn't even know mine. And I felt like a fraud. And then I was able to bring compassion and realize I had never been in the ego state. I had never been in the state of consciousness because it was pre-verbal. I was trying to figure it out with my verbal mind, and I couldn't even access it. It was so much deeper than that. So I had to expand my awareness beyond verbal into the place in my nervous system where it was held. And when I did, I found it. So I was able to bring love and compassion. But then I started channeling, and it woke up these psychic senses that I didn't know that I had. And my clients would be sitting across from me, and I'd start to hear their dead loved ones speak to me, and had all these cool experiences. And realize that, okay, God, I don't know how to write a book.
Right.
But if you want me to do that, you're going to have to show me the way.
Right.
And sure enough, this Instagram post of somebody I follow had a publisher on who was taking women to an island to go write books in like 2 weeks. And so I called her, she's like, I've got 1 spot left. And I was like, sign me up. And so it happened to be the end of September, early October, 1 year ago.
Love it.
I went to an island. I wrote this book just when the astrologer said that I would. Because the beings that I was channeling and talking to gave me this entire book. And so this is part memoir of like just using my life as experiences of this healing journey, but it's this 4-part healing journey of the process of rebirth that was channeled and given to me over last summer. And it really talks about how do we heal ourselves and how do we heal the world. Yeah. And so it's part memoir, part guide, part spiritual.
Yeah.
But that's
I think it's beautiful. I think it combines so many different things. So I think people think they have to be in one container or another, and it's like, no, it's not like that. And I think this really beautifully outlines that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very holistic.
It is.
We're whole people.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, for me, there was a component of fasting, a component of breath work, a component of psychedelics. There was therapy. I mean, yeah, we're whole people. Yeah. We need to broaden our horizons.
Yeah. Well, Kristy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing all of your knowledge with us. For the listeners, we'll have her on our website so that you can get connected or find her book. Do all the things, rate, review, subscribe, send us a message. And then until next time, we'll see you.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.